My name is Vivek Narayanan, and I'm going to be reading poems from a book I've just completed called Mr. Subramanian. Mr. Subramanian is a linguistic alter ego. I'll begin with the opening poem, which was first published in an earlier version in Tehelka some years ago. And it's a poem that makes reference to the Silapati Harem. Silapati Harem is something you can probably Google right now, but essentially it's a key epic of ancient Tamil literature, dated to somewhere around the beginning of the Common Era. Kannagi is its female protagonist. In the poem's central episode, Kannagi and her husband Kovalan arrive as strangers to the walled city of Madurai. Kovalan goes into the city to pawn Kannagi's anklet, is wrongfully framed for the theft of the queen's own anklet, and is summarily executed. Possessed by a kind of semi-divine fury, Kannagi avenges his death by tearing off her left breast and throwing it at the city, which then catches fire and is burned down. Now, I'm reading this poem in a translation by R. Parthasarathi, which is this book, and I think probably maybe the finest verse translation of an Indian epic that I've read. So this is a poem about reading the Silapati Harem today and seeing if it has any relevance. It's called Mr. S on first looking into Parthasarathis Silapati Harem. On my street, the little peeps of car horns rain. From far above, from the balcony, from where I am admittedly political. It is very much like being squeezed in the arm, and yet my total memory torments me. Oh, that I might, like Kannagi, chuck my burning breast at the untrue city in the meter of sweet mango fruit, sour mango, sweet mango fruit. It's late in the current century. Our esteemed Master Subramanian, without yet wife, without issue yet, holding pen in hand with sweetly consecrated Kannagish grief, without necessarily due cause, without registry entry, nearly though quaintly political, without kingdom to reign or release, entirely at the mercy of the elected warlords and their respective sub-warlords, without once being known to them by name, with neither reign of nor consequence to his words, sitting at the laptop without sitting, unstable as any system, organic or synthetic, fraying at the edges into ether, reined in by little more than luck, resisting the daily teleportation, without need nor power to provide it, without much hope of unaccidental death, with enough mango fruit sweet to tide the monsoon through, with light touch of winter in the veins, without fear but rather a latent dread, without any semblance of practical politics and yet somehow political, with love for the mysteriously unmysterious grey hornbill, its archaic beak waddling ungracefully still in a tree hole of the refumigated garden, without an acre of land or a portion to call his own, with infinite sensory register, but without much by way of names or gradations for such data, luscious in dusk, smog, beautiful and deadly as a visual bell puffing up from unseen manufacturing units, particles like diamonds in this, like gems leaping up from an anklet that once she, our Kannagi, wore, that once and forever led to her, our Kannagi, being recognized without being known, which is to say being misrecognized in the walled city where everybody was thought to be known, which is to say tragedy always in the guise of a stranger, an anklet like some kind of fake identikit, which is to say, Mr. Subramanian, our friend in our own image, without rein of horse cart, without ticket to space station, which is to say, nevertheless, let us not mask our bourgeois difference, which is to say, not without the ability to register a certain daily grateful quota of iota pleasure, not without the sweetness of sweets, the tartness of fruits, the cheapness of pens, even when one is ridiculously picky about one's choice of pens, which is to say, rich and free enough from the political to be able to luxuriate in the political, which is to say, nevertheless, of ambiguous and shifting class background, not unlike, forgive me, not unlike Kannagi, not quite royalty, not quite poverty, without much to complain about, but without the lack of rumination to not complain about it, which is to say, without pretending to reign either with pen or with intergalactic ballistic missile, which is to say, the sweet mango fruit of SMS sex meter, but without once the banishment of longing, which is to say, how exactly does an ancient text register in the soggy wafer of a brain scrambled by all registers? Oh, but it does, without being apolitical, but nevertheless sweet as a mango and sometimes angry, indiscriminately angry, like a roadside Kannagi ready to end the rain contra the truth of love. Say, oh, this is where you were going all along, Mr. Subramanian, to his racing pen, or penmani, register for me at least that link to what was perpetually being lost even then in that dream time, to our still troubled times. Rein in the true political, bring out weak and spineless, testicularly encumbered man, your truer Kannagi, your inner Kanmani, your truest courage, your missing breast, step by step, minute by minute, stand, turn back, look hard and devour, my dear sir, the sweet mango fruit of that vision. First, the dreaded fear of caste, wearing its little corset on trained and bumpy ribs. It stains your vision, corrugates your body as it is and cussed, and with no language to speak of itself outside of itself. Then a more untethered fear of a kind of polarity, a cathode leaping current into the other eyes, a betrayal, a way of merely repeating with each denial. You cut away that plaster cast, but your limbs occupy the same space they did before. Always the coast of saying too much versus the inland of saying little. Often the boast of castelessness cast about while coarsening the mixture in tentative proffered proof, corset ripping, habit cleaning, cross-questioning each minutiae of self-performance for evidential taint. The problem is you were no one, least of all yourself, chatterbox, tube light, and any skin scan cursed acre by cursed acre, any videograph plotted image by captured amputated frame, will not unearth the mounting or final particular, will neither incriminate nor exonerate. Better head for the coast of everything, a trip you won't be coming back from, the death salve of total repolarity. For yank that one thread of caste and the whole shebang unravels, and no word is sacred, not culture, not history, not ancestry, not identity, not community, not kismet, not daddy, mummy, tata, party, veedu, vandi, mook, part, chappal, apple, application, beating, nadai, sakre, confuse, suppose, close, decide, not even to mention the fruitless farce of having to footnote the debacle. You can escape to those places where they've barely heard of it, a little joke, a quaint curiosity of textbooks, casting yourself across, casting yourself anew with your English in your secret pouch, but that is no escape. There the questions that dogged your open eyes grow terrifyingly academic, where squared in the brace of not quite similar corollaries, your amnesia buries the whole bone, and the cost no longer shows up on the balance sheet, even if you're still paying. Back on the coast of caste, where the current is rapidly dragging you into the deep, and everything except the polarities has shifted, for everything must always shift, for your senses are no guarantee and the easiest possible to destabilize, and the handshake of the everyday mocks you in its forthrightness, despite the downcast eyes, cut across and overwritten and underwritten by other feints and fealties going far back or sprouting anew, submerged deep below the public curse, the demure corset of citizenship, the bearish casket of implication, predestination, the cathode's rays reaching to turn you inside out, while the wise voices say, "Oh silly Subramanian, give it up, relax, cool it with that pathetic, irritating upper caste self-flagellation again. Cool it with that uneasiness in yours or anyone else's skin. Cool the quicksand of your abstractions. Cast yourself into the waves. Leave it alive. Live yourself. Leave us alone." While the heavens open up and the cussed gods and the cussed demons and the 5 missing castes churn the land from the sea, draw out the everlasting distinctions, or at least the idea of distinction, and the older boys gamble over games in the street, and the tailor sits in his little room with the TV on and mends again the corset's seam, and the night broadcasts itself in wave upon wave, up and down the simmering coast, and what is written comes back to haunt what has not yet been written. And the dogs howl and bark and howl, and the late workman still hammers at the building, and the stars in truth know nothing of the future, and the foundation is ripped from the torso of the earth. So you'll be happy to know that Mr. Subramanian finds a partner and gets married, and soon a baby is on the way. And in this next poem, he puts his hand on his partner's pregnant belly and feels the baby kick. And in that moment, he realizes that his hand is also that baby's first experience of touch in the outside world. That touch otherworldly, that foot from within her beyond. And when he felt that foot, he saw that fire at play, a long red lash curving down the sky, leaping from roof to ravenous roof, needing all and everywhere, heat like screen pressed to nose, for in the touch all instances returned, and all was touch, and every tiny hurt once rained, stung back, unforgotten. Raw of a shin scraped, bee still swollen below his eye, and then those hot gravel stones he'd stepped on spoke with their rattle, and the tin of the roofs he'd felt as if it were his own, wilted in the heat, and all of life as scarce as an afternoon crouched on the bus he never got off, plunging into the road as if in descent, the seat leaned back and the views spinning concussive jumps, this play like hands on his window, which was the play of heat on his face, or indeed his father's face as a child in the moment of song grown legible, my hand pressed on a shoulder, and the killing air of the evening in the evening's sweetest spot, when all smells are wet against the weight of the day behind, the people in long hours at work quarrying stone, the bluest plastic bag, its fin caught in the breeze, in the face, in a tangle of arms, in noise, a beating on the skin, or deep in one long hour, he, a stranger, clapped his hand on your thigh, and you knew the need and the disgust of it, the warmth and the terror tingle, the pure anger of it, hairs speaking to hairs, and the train in long profile, and the passengers bodiless. Then among those conjured hurt and browning leaves, that fine dust of future, this first foot's print against the wall of her medium, this heart beating from outside in, and he in his helpless worship of her, in these visions folded in flashes, sloppily circumscribed. And then from nowhere claps Father Time, which was me, and I spring from your hands, and I spring from your face, as you, now someone else, spring from my groin, my continuous skin yoked, but nowhere did my hands flutter, although that had become their nature. Nowhere could I lose my grip in that ever growl all of me was, and I swam in every direction, burned in pinpricks, wrung hollow by the night, and I was one among the ants signaling to them, and even the light green of my shirt hurt me, and all color was too much when the play of the world magnified to surround the seed, its faint brush, its foot, its unknowing face, its cortex, its spine, its first taste, my touch otherworldly.